Hi everyone, I have a really quick video tutorial for you today showing you how to create this painted weathered background that's great for cards or journal pages. It features my new polka heart stencil from Stencil Girl. I apologize if the sound is not great. I just upgraded to a new iPhone and discovered that my clip-on microphone does not work with it, so we're kind of winging it here. I'm going to be working on the mixed media cardstock from Ranger. It's probably my most favorite surface for painting on because it's really nice and heavy duty and holds up to using paints and liquids. To create this background, first thing you're going to do is you're going to pick 3 colors of paint. I'm using Paper Artsy's Fresco Finish paint. You want 2 colors that are pretty close, so I'm using Candy Floss and Cherry Blossom. And then you'll also want a neutral that's like a white or a cream, and I'm going to use Snowflake. You're going to start with your darkest color. Squeeze some of that into a palette or onto your craft sheet. And I'm going to use an ink blending tool with the foam to apply my paint. And I'm just going to apply it in straight lines. And I like to always work top to bottom. You can flip this around to hit that other end. And you can see I'm trying to do it pretty dry so that it kind of looks like a dry brush. You want to keep your foam fairly dry. You don't want it super soppy with paint because then you're just going to end up with blobs of paint on your paper. The really nice thing about this paint is that it dries really quickly, so I'm able to just go ahead and go right into my second color, and I'm just going to add dry brush streaks with it, from top to bottom. And I don't want to cover the whole thing, I just want it to be an accent, so I'm just going to do it in a few places. You're going to put it right down on top of the first color. It doesn't have to be neat and tidy or pretty or anything, but do try to go in straight lines because it's going to look best that way. And then you're going to follow up with your neutral, your white. If you're using a palette, so you can just scrape the excess off on the side. And you're just going to add this in dry streaks, just randomly in a few places. That's it for the paint. Super easy. I'll do this really quick with the heat tool. That's all that needs. And I'm going to sand it just really quick. You never really want to sand on your craft sheet because it will scratch up the surface and ruin it. So I'm just going to put an art towel down. And I'm using this sanding block. This is also from Paper Artsy. And I'm just going to skim over this really quickly. And what that does, ideally you don't want to bend your paper like that, but that just smooths everything out and gives it a really nice smooth finish, and it brings some of your base color back up to the top. Makes it look really nice and blended. Just wipe the dust off. Okay. Then you're going to take your stencil. Now this is one of my 2 basics. I have several different styles. I have 2-step stencils and then I have basics. And on the basics you have just a really basic pattern. You have it in 2 different orientations and they're both sized to fit the front of a 5x7 or smaller card. So you're just going to place this over. I like to use tape to hold it down. Because I'm not really great at holding the stencil in place with one hand and working with the other. So I just like to use a little tape. This is just some colored masking tape. And then I'm going to use texture paste. This is Ranger's texture paste. It's in white. I'm going to apply it in white, but you could mix it with paint to give it a color if you wanted to. And with this texture paste, you only need it to be as thick as the stencil is. So you're going to smooth it and fill it down into those grooves. just like you're buttering a piece of bread. And then with that straight edge, you're going to come back and scrape it. And see, you'll pick up all of that extra, and it's going to make what's on your paper a nice and consistent thickness. So you see I'm smoothing it down into all of those places on the stencil, and then I come back and just level it out. And if there's any places that look thin, that don't look particularly white, just smooth a little bit more over it. And the really nice thing is if this is clean, what you scrape up off of your surface, you scrape it right back in your jar. So there's very little waste. Now if it had color on it, if you'd picked up some transfer color, then you're just going to wipe it off and throw it away. You always want to cap that back right away. You also want to clean your stencil fairly quickly. So I am going to, as I lift this off, step over to my sink really quick and rinse it off. I'll be right back. Okay, it's nice and clean, ready for the next use. I often, if I can't get to the sink right away, will take a water bottle and mist these and put water on it so that the texture paste can't set up and dry on it. So if you get texture paste dried on your stencil, it's a lot of work to clean it off. So I just always make a habit either to wet it right away or take it right to the sink. So on your background here, you can leave it just like this. Lovely this way, and it's an easy way to get your polka dot look white and have a colored background. It takes about probably 15 to 20 minutes to air dry. I always like to let it air dry, but you can use a heat tool and speed it along. For the magic of video though, I have another one that I had already completed, and I wanted to show you a quick idea for adding a little color to those hearts if you wanted to. You can take and put your stencil right back over the top of it and use an ink blending tool with some ink. If you wanted to just add a little bit of age to those hearts and the polka dots, but you want to keep your background nice and clean, just use your stencil as a mask and just skim right over the top of it with it in place. And there you go. Your hearts have a little bit of age and a little bit of detail. So 2 looks, really simple to achieve both, quick and easy.